Well, well, well. Look who we have here with us today on this special edition reaction video. My man, Hannibal, is hungry. Round of applause, everybody. Round of applause. Round of
Thank you,
applause.
thank you, thank you.
Pause the video
Very,
right
very
now. Hit the
happy.
thumbs up for my
Yeah,
man's. All right.
definitely.
So, Hannibal brought this video to me. I hadn't seen it, didn't know about the channel. It's a channel named Gavin Seam, something like that. Big channel. He does a lot of different things. I believe this man ran for Congress or something. He lives out in Mexico. He's a worldly man. So the video is titled basically, let me look at it. A restaurant calls the cops on me over a tip.
Whoa.
So what we're going to do in this video, we're going to watch this video. It's about 15 minutes. So let you know that right now. And then Hannibal and I, might be points in the video where we might pause it and say some things. And then we're going to give our full reaction, opinion. We're going to get saucy tonight. Y'all know me and Hannibal, we don't hold back. All right, we're going to call it how we see it in this video. This is very different, but it fits for what we talk about here because y'all know I am the king of no tip, no trip. At this point, we're at no tip, no trip 3.0. All right, I don't like dealing with miserable sons of guns. I don't like dealing with clowns. And Gavin, I'm not saying he's a clown, but we're going to watch the video and I want y'all's perspective. So first, though, since Hannibal brought this to me, what can you say about this video, Hannibal, before we watch it? Why'd you bring it to me?
Well, I checked out, I was on Facebook randomly and I follow a lot of, a lot of information about DoorDash, bar, hospitality, pages, stuff like that. And I saw something about someone took a picture of a mandatory tip, and actually we'll show in the video so you'll know exactly what's going on. And this content creator was like, yeah, I dealt with a mandatory tip. Someone called the cops on me. So he typed this in Facebook. So it's a very interesting video because he's going to talk about this. He was like, let me show my experience as well. So he catalogs experience that he had 6 years ago. Went to a restaurant and they called the cops on him because he didn't tip. So I was like, I got to bring this up to my man, Mr. No Tip, No Trip.
Oh, Lord, here we go.
And ask them question, if someone is not tipping, should they go to jail? Should you put them in jail? Solitary lockdown, 23 hours, and only 1 hour out because it didn't tip. Right, Pedro?
Yeah, listen, I'm not that extreme, but we're gonna break down this video a little bit more, give the perspective of the restaurant, the consumer. You know what? We're not going to keep y'all any longer because we know we're going to be talking. Let's play this video. All right.
Let's do it.
We're going to pull this up for you guys. I'm sure some of you have seen it. Maybe most probably haven't. Go watch it and give your comments on his channel as well, along on this one. So let's bring this up here. All right. Here is the fine young man. Look at him. He's ready to talk. He's going to give it to us. Let's see what he's got to say.
All right.
Let's play this bad boy.
I know that, but today I want to talk about tips. I think I talked about tips and gratuity recently and in a live stream or something, but I wanted to come back to this because there's actually a video about this. And I don't think I ever uploaded this video because it wasn't that grand of an incident, but this was in 2016, I think, when I was on my speaking tour across the United States. We were in the Smoky Mountains, that little town down below the Smoky Mountains. I can't remember the name. We went to a Chinese food restaurant and they put a mandatory tip. And I said, this is BS. And I was going around and they called the cops. They called the cops on me. The cops came and I basically told.
Okay, I got to pause it just for a second. Listen. So he's in Tennessee getting Chinese. I wonder how good the Chinese is in Tennessee. Probably not that great. I don't know. Probably we get better Chinese in St. Louis and Brooklyn, right?
Oh, definitely.
And they called the cops on him. That to me, that interests me. Like, what the hell happened that they're calling the cops over a mandatory tip situation in a small, what looks like a small, look at that cop right there. They got a white board in their restaurant hanging on the wall. This is a locally owned spot.
Oh, definitely. Small business through and through.
Small business. Shout out to all the small businesses. But already, this guy's already kind of, he's ready. He's animated. He's got me excited to see why the cops got called. Look at this cop. He's like, what the hell am I doing here? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this guy. He's like, I got better things to do.
Of all things to be called on.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and continue watching this.
Told them, like, I can pay a tip or I cannot pay a tip. The irony of this, treating your clients like crap, is I was going to leave a tip. I'm not actually a bad tipper. And I'll show you this, but I got thinking about this because of this Facebook post that just recently came up, and I'm going to show you right here because it's what we do here, right? It was just one of these posts that pops up on your Facebook feed, and I left a comment. I just left my comment and walked away, and my comment became the top comment. And I want you to look at what people are saying. But first, let's just look at this video real quick. I went back to the archives. I have this in there. I'll happily leave you a tip. I think you did a great job, but I don't do mandatory tips. So if you guys can take that off there, and I'll leave you a tip on the table.
I am happy for that. Okay.
What's that?
I am happy for that.
Say again?
Okay, I am happy for that. Okay.
You're not happy about that.
No, I happy. I am happy. Okay.
Just, I don't understand.
Okay. If you want more, you can add more. Okay. I am happy.
Right, but I just want it off here because I'll leave a tip separately, but I don't do a tip as part of my. This is my bill here.
Okay. This is a house policy for this. Okay.
Right, but I didn't agree to pay a mandatory gratuity.
Yeah, the house policies.
Your policy doesn't mean that I have to pay money.
No. This is house policies. Okay.
And it's my policy that I don't pay tips on the receipt. I don't pay mandatory gratuity.
Excuse me.
I don't pay mandatory gratuity. That's my policy.
Yeah, but this is the restaurant policies. Okay.
Did you get an agreement from you on that before? That's not.
I didn't charge you.
Okay, so let's listen. I'm gonna try not to pause it too much, but y'all know me. All right. So this man, this customer is saying that there's a mandatory. The restaurant's saying that's their policy is to put a mandatory tip. Okay, we're gonna talk about that and share some experiences later after the video. And the server, you can tell, or the manager, we don't know which it is, saying he's happy. No, he's fine. He's happy with, the guy's saying, I'm going to leave a tip. I'd rather leave a cash tip. But the server's saying, or manager, no, I'm happy with whatever's there. Let's just keep it kind of simple, right? You're saying you're going to tip me. Well, I'm good with what's there. Maybe the guy wants to tip less. Maybe he wants to tip more. The restaurant's stating this is our policy, house policy, as they say. And restaurants are businesses. They can do what they want. Now, who knows if this was actually in the menu, and some places do that. We can get into that later. But the consumer is saying, well, it's my policy. He's saying he walks around with a policy in his pocket saying that he doesn't do mandatory tipping, which, hey, that's cool, right? So at this point, nobody's really right or wrong. They're just butting heads. It's a matter of egos at this point, in my opinion. But let's just continue. Hannibal, do you got anything to add so far?
Yeah, I think I kind of agree where they're arguing about semantics. It's like procedure where he's saying I will tip, but I don't do mandatory tips to take it off my bill. And the other one, I don't know if there's a language issue as well in terms of exactly the communication of it. Is he saying I'm not happy that you're gonna like the store owner or the manager? I'm not happy that you're gonna take this gratuity out because it's house policy. It's a little confusing, but the guy said I'm ready to tip. So it is, like you said, it could be a little bit of egos clashing.
A little bit. Seems like it. All right, let's continue here.
Okay, this is a tip. This is tax. This is.
I don't know why you guys would spoil this.
This is what I say. Okay, this is house policy. Okay, yeah, a lot of people just don't keep here. So okay, do you want me to come over here and show you? Okay, no problem.
Is it on the menu? Is it stated on there?
Do you know what a gratuity is?
I'm asking you a question.
I asked you a question.
I know exactly what it is.
Well, tell me what a gratuity is, officer.
Don't belittle me.
I'm not belittling you.
I asked you a question. Now answer my question.
I'm not here to answer your questions.
Well, that's fine. If it's on there, which I think you showed it to you, because I watched.
Did he have a contract with me before I
don't know about your contract, but I know it's in his menu. I know you came in here and ate.
So if I write something somewhere, does that mean you have to abide with it too, even if you didn't see it?
You came in here and did a service. He did a service for you.
Yeah, and he did a good service
And
until they added this and spoiled it.
It's in his menu. It's up to you as a consumer to read it.
I understand the law.
Just like when you take medicine.
Okay.
You have to read the directions.
I don't want to debate law with you because I know the law.
Well, that's fine, because they.
If you're in the business of closing deals, Deal Hub is just what your team needs.
We'll cut it out. No,
It's a platform that connects every stage of the sales.
They asked me to come over here.
No.
So I have to.
What's your name?
My name is Bowling.
Bowling. Okay. Yeah.
And they asked me to come over here. I don't have a choice. I have to.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, and they're kind of ruining the experience for the whole thing. I mean, the truth is, I would have given him a tip. I thought he did a good job, but on principle, I don't pay mandatory gratuity. And a line in a menu.
I'm not here to side with anybody.
No, you're here to uphold the Constitution. That's all you got to do.
I'm here to just do my job, and I know it's there.
Right.
All right, funny. I got to respond to something here. He says it kind of ruined the whole experience. egos, man. Listen, we all got them. I'm a prideful dude myself, but like he's out to eat. I think he's offended by it because he doesn't want to be forced to do something. He's talking about Constitution. I get that. I think he has something there. I get it. But for me, he's making, if it's him and one person, I'm assuming based on this video and other things, what's the tip? $4 or $5? He's got the cops out there. He's doing all this stuff. He's making a scene. I almost feel like the consumer also ruined, the customer ruined the experience. What do you say, Hannibal? I don't know.
You know, I do think that anybody else would have just paid and moved on because they have other things to do. But as you said earlier, he ran for political office. A lot of grandstanding. Obviously, he's a YouTuber. He's a traveler. He's a speaker. Yeah. He likes to bring a lot of attention to himself. So a little bit of that is in there. But I wanted to know what your thoughts on how the communication between the cop and him and the cop. Yeah. Did the cop come across aggressive or he came across aggressive? Now, he did ask a cop, do you know what gratuity is? And it's usually when you throw a question like that, you're kind of already saying like, you're kind of dumb or like, how dare you even question me? Because I know the law. And that's very, I'm not going to use that word, the Karen and Ken, that type of thing. But
I think the cop was being chill. And I think he kind of was pushing at the cop a little bit. Do you know what gratuity? Like he was kind of being kind of like a little bit of a Ken or Karen or Kevin or a little bit of a jerk for no reason. I think he wanted the cop to react negatively. I think he's looking for that. He's recording. He has a channel. He knows he's going to use this at some point. He's trying to bait the officer a little bit. You know, I know the law. Do you know the law? Like he's being a dick a little bit, in my opinion. Like there's the
idea that it just because something is on a menu or is a policy, that means you have to follow it. That's the one thing on the other side that I do kind of understand. Like, well, just because it's on a paper doesn't mean I have to follow it.
Well,
and he's like,
okay, but
do you think he
saw it? Why would he stay then? Do you think he saw it in the menu? Because when you go out to eat, if there's a menu, you might miss that. But if you see it,
he probably missed it.
He probably missed it. Right. Because if he would have saw it, then if he's offended when he first sits down, then you just leave. Like I'm not doing, but maybe he probably missed it. Could have been fine print.
You hungry? You trying to look for food?
He's hungry.
He's out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, like I don't look at everything on the menu. I'm looking to see what to eat. So, but you're right. A lot of times, if you just spend a little bit more time reading the fine print, you can not be bothered when someone says a policy and you get offended. And it's like, you sat down because we thought you agreed with the policy. You ordered food, so I can see that.
Well, in a lot of restaurants, I've worked at a few large parties, 6 or sometimes it's 8 or more. Automatic.
I've seen
15, 18%. That is extremely common, especially in chain restaurants and mom and pop places. And most consumers and people out here are more like at ease with that. They, some people you'll see, oh, okay, there's 8 of us. Okay, well, what if we do 4 over here and 4 over there? People will do that, and then they don't have to pay the gratuity, but they don't sit together. But like, you can also have the choice by knowing that if you see a plaque in the front of the store or big print in the front of the menu, then you can decide not to leave. You can leave, which is your right. But also, like, if it's there, if it's policy, it's policy. It's kind of like it's some places have no split checks. No, you can't order one plate and split it. You can't, a lot of places have policies that are similar in a way to make the server job more streamlined, easier and things like that. So
doing 10 split checks is god awful.
It can be, it's just a little much, and sometimes it's more difficult than it needs to be. Other times it can be really easy, but it just depends. All right, let's continue here.
But I have to pay it when I go other places too.
Yeah, I don't pay mandatory.
Whether I agree with it or not.
Well, sometimes you got to stand up for things,
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
That's your prerogative.
That's my prerogative. All right.
I will call and have a supervisor come over.
Yeah, well, we're not going to wait for a supervisor to come over. You ruined the officer's dinner. You ruined our dinner. We had a good experience. We had good food. We would have left a good tip because of this and your guys' unprofessionalism. I left you a 5-star review on Yelp, and now I'm going to remove it. It's good. Let's go.
So hold on. I gotta pause this. Let me.
Hold on. We're good. Okay, let's go.
So he leaves a 5-star review, right? He said he left a 5-star review. So on Yelp,
who knows?
Right? Who knows? But he could have just been, But let's assume he's being honest now, because this is a man that he's ran for Congress or something. He's knows the Constitution. He knows the law. He's an honest guy. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He leaves a 5-star, so it means the food was good. He said the service was good, but this ruined his night and the officer's night. So if everything was good, and you see a mandatory whatever, why not just pay the tip? But I understand he also in the video said, well, you got to stand up for your rights or stand up for whatever. I respect that. I do respect that. But is a couple dollars, is it worth all of this? I don't know.
No, in a random restaurant in the middle of Tennessee, this is where you want to plant your flag to do that. Some people are going to do that regardless. He's the kind of guy that would. I wouldn't necessarily think like he did tape the experience, but he didn't put it out 6 years ago. He waited to, you know what I mean? So he looked at the footage and didn't think it was even important to pursue it. I don't know now because of the tipping battle going back and forth.
Because it's popular now, he wants to air it out. Yeah.
Exactly.
That says a lot about him, right? Because if it was that big, if he was that passionate about it, he would have put it out on his channel when it happened because he would have wanted to share. But because now it's a hot topic in the food delivery game and all this has been amplified and the no tip, no trip and decline now and all these movements of drivers and service industries and things like that. Now he's like, oh, I'm gonna put this out into the YouTube because I know people want to watch it. Yeah. Well, why didn't you put it out before? Was it not worthy then?
Good question. It wasn't.
It got you enough views. Yeah. So what, so let's.
I have a question for you. Like, if you're the manager of that, you've been in the restaurant game a while as well, and there's a policy. Well, even if you had a policy such as this, and someone said, take it out, I will pay and tip. Would you work that out just to get them out of the restaurant? Like,
if I'm the manager of that establishment,
say the customer is always right. That's not true, but
it's the Gavin and his interaction with the manager or server we first saw in the beginning wasn't something that warranted the cops being called. That's number one.
No arguing, it's an argument, but no high voice, no one's yelling, there's no threats of violence. So it's a little bit. I say on that and. Calling the cops was a bit ridiculous.
Yes, that's on the restaurant. I don't know if I think I've called the cops once and there was actual fights in my restaurant. And I've had to deal with much bigger situations than this. So to call the cops and to escalate it, the restaurant started that. So as a consumer, just questioning it, I think that's completely fine. I think Gavin doing that is okay, whether I agree or not. I think the way he handled it, he was nice about it. He was questioning it. That's his right as a consumer. So the restaurant calling the cops is like taking it another level. This doesn't make a lot of sense. You're causing more. You have other patrons you should be worrying about, in my opinion. For me, you asked me how I would have handled it. If the guy's like, oh, I don't want to pay this, I do want a tip. I'd say, you know what? You guys had a great night, right? Food was good. Everything was good. I appreciate you leaving my staff a tip. I got no problem taking it off for you. It is our policy. But if you're going to take care of my people tonight, I'll trust that you'll do that. I appreciate you guys coming in tonight. Boom. Smart. And then I'm sure Gavin would have left the tip. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. I think he might have left a bigger tip if the manager handled that correctly. And I think it was mismanaged from the beginning. And then Gavin, he saw the restaurant escalated. So then Gavin's going to escalate it. And I think it kind of snowballed from there.
The language, the communication wasn't.
That too. Yeah.
It would have been better if they had that ability to communicate in a more healthier way, I guess.
Yeah. For sure. Let's watch the rest of this and all right, let's go here.
I'm not here to side with anybody.
My name's Gavin. Hey, you take care. Okay, so that happened. We went on our way and right. I mean, I was traveling. I was dealing with police videos every couple of days when I was on the road. And it was just like another video. There's actually a lot of videos in my archives that weren't incidents that were that significant, I guess I should say. And they've never even been uploaded. I've got the same collections of videos of things that have occurred here in Mexico because, of course, it takes time to put videos like this together. So a big shout out to the channel backers, the Patreon supporters, those of you that throw out the super chats and all that in reference to this thing on Reddit, right?
I got to pause one thing he said, and we're not going to watch. We might not watch the whole thing, but listen, he's saying it takes time, and I got archives. Let me tell you what, Gavin, your channel's way bigger than mine. You're doing your thing. I respect it. I haven't watched this is the only video I've watched of yours. If you're watching this, I'm going to at you. Anyways, it does not take that much time to put a video. If you record something, you could literally upload it in 20, 30 minutes. So don't use the excuse of, well, it takes time to put a video like this together. If you were recording with your phone, it does not take time. It's actually really easy. That's not a video that needs to be edited at all, really. So
well, listen, a certain narrative that he wants to portray.
exactly. So I
Make sure you
call
guys
Gavin.
put
If
it-
you're, I call BS on that. Okay, I'm a content creator. Now I don't do the master editing like my man Hannibal does, and like maybe you do. But it does not take. Don't use it as an excuse. I'm just gonna call you out there. It is what it is. Let's continue watching.
Yep.
And I think this is talking about Hawaii. Tipping is not optional. Here's what you should do. Tipping is optional. That is literally the definition of what a tip is, a gratuity. A tip is a short word for gratuity, something given voluntarily or beyond obligation, usually for some service, especially tip. Tipping is not optional. Definition of tipping: something given voluntarily. Are you seeing the pattern here? This is the same thing police do, right? You have to give me this. You have to let us talk to you and answer questions. You have to let us talk to your children. You have to give me your papers. When a restaurant is trying to put a mandatory tip, they're trying to screw over their customers because they don't want to pay their employees and they want to make sure it's covered so their employees stay. Now, first of all, this comment, a lot of people get this because most of us are frustrated. The people that don't get this are the people that are servers, usually the people in my experience that are bad, self-entitled servers, because anyone who's a good server knows, and I have done serving in a restaurant. I work with people all the time that work in a restaurant. And all of them know, and I know occasionally when I have worked actually restaurant service down here in Mexico, that if tips are to be had, and it's even more difficult down here because there's not as much of a tipping culture, you better do a good job. Anyone who says tipping is not optional is a scammer. It's illegal for anyone to force you to tip, even if added to your ticket or noted in the menu. You don't have to pay it. A tip is a gift. If you're a server who wants tips, impress your client and you'll do well. If you don't like your job, leave. I have a lot of family that works in the restaurant business in the United States as well. And so I grew up around family that owned restaurants and were working and having these conversations. But sometimes the people didn't want to become managers and have salaries in the restaurant because the servers in the restaurant could do so well and make more money by doing tables and getting tips.
He's right about that.
But the reality is this isn't a question of government. If you don't want the job, people are like, the job pays this much, okay? The job pays this much, and then you get tips. And if you go there and you work, and either the tips aren't what you expected, or maybe you're not a good server, you can leave the job. I've seen enough of this circus. Considering how I met you, where I was your server, the countless dinners I served as you tried to win people over during your campaign, I am a professional, as are many out there. Let's see you make a living wage with a pin that says tipping is optional. Matthew, I honestly apologize if I don't remember. My campaign when I was running for Congress was some years ago. I'm sure I tipped. But the problem with Matthew's mindset and many of these comments is it's totally self-entitled. If I was a server, I could absolutely wear a pin that says tipping is optional. In fact, the restaurant stuff that I work with and help do marketing for and stuff down here in Mexico, there's a point made on the menu that says tipping is optional. If they didn't do a good job, please send an email to the owners. That's the level that servers should be demanded of. I say tipping is not optional. I don't work in a tip position, so I'm not benefiting from that. However, I've worked many tip positions. Waitstaff, bartenders, hairdressers do not make anywhere near a living wage. It's not the employee's fault. The law allows them to be paid so low because of the expectation of tipping. Victoria, BS. Tipping is literally optional. And anyone who tries to tell you it's not or force you to pay a tip is extorting you, and it's illegal. I remember.
All right, so Gavin's saying a lot. I don't disagree with all he's saying. Hannibal, what's your thoughts on some of the things he's been saying here about the restaurants and not paying the workers, and some of how he's reacting to the comments? What do you say?
Well, first I like the frozen face that he has, the pause one.
Oh yeah, let's go back to that.
Just look at it for a second.
I like that one. He's in it. He's like getting ready, like I'm gonna roast these mugs. Like I got him.
I think a lot of the rest of the video is probably more of that responding, and he basically keeps saying the same thing. So
there's really nothing else to watch. So we're gonna kind of give our thoughts on what you guys have seen, And I'm gonna start with Hannibal here.
Yeah, I think for him running for Congress, and he's very passionate, probably like I said a few years back, you want to make a change. You want to do something. You want to do something. You want to buck the trend. You want to do something special. I think that was his mindset. So I see a little bit of that where it also seemed like he has an issue with authority, cops. Like he said, I have videos about cops. He don't like being told what to do. Yep. So it's also you have to do something that triggers him. But also it's followed by our laws. Tipping is optional. And he repeats that. Say, hey, listen, you cannot force people to tip. It doesn't work that way. And he also has this very interesting idea. Well, not interesting idea, but in terms of if it's not working out for you as a server, then you gotta find something else to do.
Leave. Yeah, he says leave or something.
Which is very easy to say that, very cavalier. Like you just leave. Same thing with a lot of people.
Most servers, Gavin, are living paycheck to paycheck, if you didn't know that, right? Yeah. Also, or they're putting themselves through school and they're using that money to pay for college, or
it's not that easy
are
to just leave.
It's not easy just to leave. So to say that is kind of, you're a little disconnected from the people that you're kind of responding to in your comment section that are in the service industry.
Yeah. And the only thing I would say, going back to the idea, and you've covered this a lot in terms of tipping and the origins of tipping.
Yeah.
That I'll ask you, do you think a restaurant that has a policy of the one that he showed a picture of in Hawaii, it says tipping is mandatory, or this place saying tipping is part of house policy, is it would you consider them a scammer, that they are not paying their employees enough, so they want the guests, the customers, to fit that bill? Do you think it's scamming?
Yeah. I think in some cases it may be. Because we don't know, especially some of these local spots, we don't know how much they're paying their staff, whether a busser or a bartender. They might be paying them less than the federal minimum wage or whatever, right? In some countries, they might not even have that. So, but mostly, I think it's a way to retain and respect your wait staff and to keep them, making sure they're making some kind of money. Because at the end of the day, Gavin, and anybody that disagrees with tipping and he doesn't necessarily disagree with it. He just, like Hannibal said, he doesn't like to be told what to do. But there are a big subset of people that just don't tip at all for whatever reason, right? Which is fine. That's what's great about America. We could do what we want mostly, right? You can have opinions and do this or do that. But the issue is here, most customers don't realize, and Gavin is in this, I think, boat. Let's just say tipping goes away, because they've tried this in California, started 10, 12 years ago, where restaurants were just saying, don't tip our staff. We pay them $15, $20. We pay them a living wage, a fair wage. Tipping is not a thing here. Okay, but then what happens? Last year, that steakhouse that didn't start that yet, let's say, the steak was $30. Now, because they have to pay everybody more, I'm not against that necessarily, okay? That steak's $45. So at the end of the day, Gavin, you're still spending the same, if not more money, whether there's a mandatory tip, a no tip, whatever the policy is there. That cost is always going to go to the consumer, because we live in a capitalistic country and people are in business to make money.
Right.
Whether it's franchise, corporate, or a small mom and pop Chinese joint in Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to pay either way. So, the line items of your receipt and then the tax and maybe a mandatory gratuity or whatever, the bottom end result is going to be you paying for it. So
he wants
why
control.
make a big fuss? You know what I'm
saying? He wants control. He wants to decide. I think he'd rather have it. And I think there may be people who I think if I had to pay more for a meal and I knew that the money was going to the staff for the product, either if it's food or electronics, like a lot of these, I was talking about this with Steve right here, Rody, in the round table. And we're talking about how cheap TVs are. And you can go on Walmart and you can get a 65-inch TV for $400. And you're like, how is it so cheap?
It wasn't
cheap. People who put the TV together, people are shipping. Are those people getting taken care of financially? For me to enjoy this massive TV for $400? Are we taking care of our employees? Are we taking care of our people in terms of these Amazon warehouses and all the stuff they got to go through? I am willing to pay more if we knew the money was going to go to where it needed to be.
Yeah. And
that's where our problem is. A lot of that money isn't going there.
Yeah.
So I understand his point as well, but he didn't make a lot of it about nothing. Most people just pay. All right, cool. Is in there? Cool. I may add some more or I may not. But he's a politician, or was. he has to stand up for something, and that's a little bit of that too. You're gonna be dealing with those kind of customers sometimes where they know the law. And it's like, okay, you know the law, okay, let's take care of you so you can get the hell out of our face because we have to work for the next couple hours and it's dinner shift.
Yeah. I think definitely had a little bit of a hidden agenda there, and he wants to record a lot of certain things in his interactions with either law enforcement or somebody of authority so he can make it for his content. And I get it. I'm not mad at Gavin for that. That's what's great about YouTube. Do what you want. But I definitely feel like the reasoning for him filming and questioning is definitely what Hannibal's saying as far as the authority. And like I said, maybe the ego gets in the way. He's questioning the cop a little bit. There's a unnecessary back and forth. It's just not, we're talking about at the end of the day, we're talking about taking care of the server that obviously did a good job. And you had a good meal. You said you gave a 5-star. So what's the problem here? You just don't like being told what to do.
I think he thinks that the restaurant is taking advantage of putting a policy that's not, it's not a fair policy. He's saying tipping is not, like he keeps saying, tipping is optional. So if he sees the injustice,
tipping is optional.
Yeah, he saw this injustice. He wanted to put his stamp on it. Like, I'm not gonna fall for this. And the guy's like, I won't call the cops, and it snowballed from there. But it's still interesting video.
Tipping is optional. We're gonna get to one other thing I wanted to bring up, and I want to get Hannibal's opinion on it as far as like large parties and So tipping is optional, clearly. Like if you can go to a place, I've gotten bad service. I'm sure Hannibal's gotten bad service, or a place is busy, the food doesn't taste great, the service is bad. Maybe they're rude, in those cases, you're not going to tip for bad service. Like sometimes I even still have, because some things are out of the wait staff's control. If the steak isn't cooked correctly, most of the time it's not the server's fault. She could have rang it in wrong, but it's probably the cook. And so at the end of the day, I've done this job. So my viewpoint is going to be different than other people that haven't been in the service industry. But I understand, I appreciate, and I understand in this society we live in, these people are not paid fairly by the company. That is a fact. Okay. Because if you're a server and you work a whole shift and you get stiffed on every table, you are making zero money, because you still have to, in most cases, tip a busser out, maybe a bartender. Sometimes you got to do tip share for your host. So you're literally making $0, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
So I understand that, and I'm willing to give a tip of appreciation to somebody for taking care of me and giving me napkins and refills, and taking care, maybe boxing my to-go bag up, taking care of my kids.
How you doing, like how's the food, coming by, checking on you.
Yeah, it's just like a kind thing to do. So it is definitely optional, Gavin, but if you're a kind human being and you understand how the world works, I know you might not like that you have to tip, or you might not have to do certain things in this society, but unfortunately that's how it is right now, right? And if I'm looking eyeball to eyeball with a server, she takes good care of me, he takes good care of me, the bartender makes me a dope ass drink, I'm going to show them gratitude and appreciation because they gave me a service. It's really simple. I think we overthink this sometimes. It's a couple dollars here and there, and if you're out with parties of 6 or more, you go to Applebee's or TGI Fridays or Red Lobster, Olive Garden. Most of these places have some kind of placard. It's on the menu. Parties of 8 or more, 15%, 18% automatic gratuity. Why is that not? So Hannibal, talk to me about why you think that is more commonly accepted versus a party of 2 or 3.
I think we should, knowing that a party of 4, 5, 6 people, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of working, a lot of the cooking. It's a lot. It's just that person got to deal with that table. That's like basically 2 tables or 3 tables, right? Amount of the food, amount of making sure everyone's okay, amount of drinks. So we accept that for the most part, right? And I've been in parties or you can call it party, but I've been in a situation where everyone, it was like a split of 4 or 5 perhaps, and no one tipped, because I'm sure they probably looked at the gratuity and said, well, it's already taken care of. I had a tip for 5 people. Because again, I'm in it, right? Like I'm dealing with it as well. So even going back to the whole the DoorDash situation or any kind of gig economy situation, sometimes if you're in the know, like you in it, or at least someone personally that's going through it, you have a different perspective when you're not really in it. And you're looking at it as, well, this is how it should be. Well, how it should be and how it is It's two different things. Like we know how it is right now.
Yeah.
It's how the game is. We don't have enough time for that server to get the laws changed, to get the restaurant to pay that person the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That person needs to, take care of their stuff right now. They got bills to pay right now. So you can go into, back and forth with a random cop about what is optional, what isn't optional, but these people out here need they need to make their money tonight on that dinner shift.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that needs to be understood as well.
Yeah. And I gotta, this isn't about bashing Gavin. I wanted to show you all this video to get your opinion. So drop them in the comments. Let us know. Have you been to a restaurant that had mandatory gratuity? Have you been out to a place where it had mandatory gratuity on large parties? And maybe some of your party people or you did not want to tip? How'd you handle that? Did you split the table up? Did you argue about it? Did the cops get called? Put a comment, share a story down below. I will also say this. Gavin's somebody that says, hey, I do tip. I get good service, I tip. So Gavin, I appreciate for all my fellow drivers out here that might have delivered you something or restaurant servers. Like we appreciate customers that do tip. Because it's not a 100% thing. So when I was serving tables or if I'm delivering somebody their McDonald's food, right? The chicken McNuggets, like Hannibal likes to say, like I appreciate when somebody tips me, right? But I also, if somebody doesn't, as a delivery driver, I'm not taking that order, right? Yeah. But as a server, you don't really have that choice. You got to take that table that comes in, right?
Yeah,
so,
big difference.
It's a huge difference, right? So let's just put Gavin up on the screen one more time. Let me see. Where is he? He's in. I think he's in his. There he is.
Yeah,
he's about to say something impassioned to his people that are the part of the tipping is optional, which I agree with that. I'm not in disagreeing with that, but I believe this is just silly. I think it escalated, starting with not so much him. I think him questioning it is okay. I think that's fine. It's not a big deal. Me, I don't question it. If I got good service, I'm gonna tip.
Yeah, and move on, right? Like
you move on.
But
yeah, if I got bad service and then I see, then I'm probably gonna question it if I'm him, and that makes sense. I do give a big L to the manager. I think he mishandled it in the beginning. I think me coming from
I think it's communication. I think it was a little bit of a miscommunication.
Could have been that too, but I still just calling the cops is ridiculous for something like that. That's why the cops looking like, what am I doing here? Like this is stupid. And then I got this little putz Gavin talking to me.
Yeah, do you know what gratuity is?
Like he was about to smack him. I could tell. He's like, this little dude, what's going on here, right?
Yeah, Tennessee cop too. Yeah, man, he ain't playing around with you.
No, he ain't messing around with you. So I think it's interesting. Hannibal, thanks for showing me this video, and it's fun doing this reaction. If you guys like stuff like this, let us know if you want to see more reaction type things about what we do and how we make money and how we feed our families. Like, listen, no tip, no trip, man, on these delivery apps. Listen, don't enable the consumer. Don't enable the gig apps. The more drivers that take these $2, $3 orders, the more we're going to see them. Right. So just be smart, stay selective. That's the best I can say. Hannibal, you got any final words, my friend?
Not much, man. I appreciate you coming with this. Like the first collab to your channel. I'm surprised you didn't want that guy to go to jail.
No, I'm not. Listen, I know y'all think, listen, he made some good points. I'll give credit where credit's due. At the end of the day, like, both parties overreacted.
That's probably that's a perfect way of ending it. Everyone overreacted.
For sure. We're talking about a restaurant in Tennessee, a Chinese joint. Like, come on. Your lo mein was good. Yeah, your lo mein was good. Your fried rice, your crab are good. Just take care of your server. Listen, to all the customers out there, take care of the people taking care of you. It's a very simple concept.
Very easy. Yeah.
Very easy.
Agreed.
All right. Hannibal and I are out. Drop a comment down below if you guys want to see more stuff like this. Maybe we'll see you again.
Peace.